Yes. Alright, recap starting. When last we left our party, they were a man down, owing to Yolia's sudden departure, so they decided to set off in search of a temporary replacement. They hired an ordinary mercenary named O'Malley Jones and set off to find their friend Francisca with the threat of a looming dragon civil war. When Francisca couldn't meet them, they got passage to Dragon's Rest with her brother Vero aboard his ship, the Sky Swimmer. En route, they were attacked by a group of wyverns led by an ancient green dragon called Artemy, who had been exiled from Dragon's Rest for joining the Fang of Immolation. They defeated Artemy, and Risu finished him off, leaving his unconscious body to plummet below the clouds, presumably to his death, and arrived at one of the free spires of Dragon's Rest, where they were greeted by a particularly surly gold dragon called Salafar. Salafar warned them that while they were tolerated, they were certainly not welcome, and that many dragons here would love to eat them. He also told them that dragons are very meticulous with their hoards, and that if they were to steal even a single coin, it would certainly be noticed. The party descended down in utter darkness via a rickety, unused elevator in the center of the spire, and the session ended with the party laying eyes on the ruined city of Dragon's Rest. Well, I believe you all remarked, "Man, this place looks like a
So,
dump."
I was going to say, it looks like it's been tidied up a
O'Malley
bit.
legitimately said, "This place looks worse than the riggers," and that's saying something.
Then I will put on music a moment. Ba-dum. See if that works. It does. Haha. So, to set the scene for you, you've all sort of stepped out of this massive black stone tower, and while the city is lit, it's sort of dimly lit streets, um, just by like whatever glow comes from the ruined buildings, where presumably dragons or draconic creatures make residence within these buildings. So there is enough that you can sort of make out the city, but not really enough that like you would call it like streetlights or anything. You can see there are numerous massive ruined towers. Some of them stretch up almost as high as the clouds, and of course, the three main spires, these large black stone structures, all stretch up far above the clouds and offered you a chance to descend into the city. Um, it's difficult to see whether there are any dragons actually flying about at the moment, of course, because of the lack of light down here on the surface. Although it's fairly. You have like that unsettling feeling like you're being watched, I think, especially O'Malley with your passive perception. You would get the feeling that there's definitely eyes on you right now, and not all of them feel friendly. Um, Salafar will gesture down to the streets below, where there is no neat staircase for you to descend, and he just sort of like leaps off like a 20-foot drop and lands like onto the cobbled streets below, with no real like thought for how you guys are supposed to descend safely. And shouts up to you, saying, "Stop wasting time. Your
I'm
friend
already next to him.
Francisca, of course you are." Your friend Francisca is waiting for you before you meet the matriarch. She said she wanted to speak with you before you get yourselves into trouble.
Yeah,
And
that sounds about right. Lead the way.
okay, I mean, like you guys are all high enough level. I'm not really going to like question in detail how you're all like getting down or anything, but just know that like the city isn't really made to be navigated by like people like you. It's the streets are very much like ruined and wrecked, which just isn't a cause for concern for massive dragons that can fly as they please.
Is there a sign that says no feet allowed in Dragon's Rest?
No.
Should I just arcane gate everywhere?
You can only do it once per day, can't you?
Yeah, but I'll just sleep whenever I teleport.
Okay.
You know.
What?
It'll take a while, but
It
I'll get
takes
there.
him 2 weeks to cross the city. So, it's kind of very disturbing as you like pass through these streets where, like, for moments it seems eerily quiet, and then there's like an ear-shattering roar of some dragon, like just out of eyesight within one of these ruined buildings or tall towers. And like this whole time, you kind of get this feeling of like you're being watched from above by something, and there's just like a kind of really oppressive environment to this place. It just feels like somewhere that you're not meant to be at all. One thing I should also mention is you guys are well and truly within the absent range right now, so any magic and magic items are going to be messed up if you try to use them at all.
In what
What's
way?
happening with
Mm.
the echo?
I think right now, so you're not within like a null zone for magic. That would be in the actual mountains themselves. Right now, just magic's very unstable. So I think it's like the echo is like very fuzzy and staticky, and like occasionally it's like color like shifts, like someone is like messing around with a slider in character creation, like suddenly like shifts to vibrant hues of purple and then back to red and then down to like an orange and then back to its gray, and it's just like every minute or so his color like violently shifts.
I do look at him and put like a thumb up. It's like, you okay?
It shrugs.
It shrugs, and I'm like, shrug back at him. I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's like, you could just like not be here for a bit.
Mhm. For a moment it flickers out and then it like appears in front of you as though it's walked forwards and looks back at you.
Lag.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it's sort of like rubber banding and desyncing.
I'm just
Desync.
like, don't be taking the piss.
You almost see the faintest hint of a smile on its face, but it's hard to make out any facial expressions on it. But, yeah. As for the rest of you, like,
What dragon is this? Sorry.
the one that you're currently with, Vero is still with you at the moment, but the one who's currently leading you is a gold dragon named Salafar. He does not seem very friendly, despite being gold. He is mostly just not immediately hostile.
Salavar.
TH. Hang on. How did I spell it?
Salazar.
Salafar, yeah.
Okay.
So when you find information. Salthar. Salfar.
Okay. My Google Docs is like Salazar. Salazar.
Mine's
Salazar.
Selaphor.
Close enough.
Salazar.
Selaphor.
Mine's planning on reading your.
Beautiful.
It sounds
the
right.
features.
These weird draconic names. It's like a mistranslation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are led towards this central spire, although you aren't actually immediately led into it. Salfar sort of stops outside of this larger building. It's a much more like squat structure by comparison, although it's kind of weird to make a comparison to a structure that just stretches up and up until it's like you can't see the top of it. So it's probably a few stories tall, and maybe before the calamity, it was some sort of like guards building or served some sort of important martial function. There seems to be like the remnants of fortifications on it, but Salfar sort of just leads you to where like there's a massive hole in the wall large enough for a dragon to fit through, and says, "My sister will be waiting for you in here. You'll excuse me, I have to go and inform our mother of your presence. I hope you won't keep us waiting too long."
So do we wait to get announced?
So Francisca, no. Well, are you asking that in character or not?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. No, he's just says, "I have no intention of announcing your presence. Your friend is waiting for you inside. Just go ahead and enter." And like with that, I don't think he even like really bothers to say goodbye to you guys. He just sort of like turns on his heel and walks off through the streets, this iridescent gold dragonborn. And then I think like after he's enough paces away from you, you see him transform into this enormous golden dragon, probably a similar sort of size to what Artemi was. And take one last look at you, and then just push off the ground and take off into the darkness.
Yeah, he's not much of a talker, is he?
Yeah, doesn't like you guys very much.
He's a bit of a rude bastard.
You can talk.
We should try and make friends with him.
It's worked thus far.
True.
Erland just seems kind of quiet and nervous in this place. Some of the mirth has left him temporarily.
I would be, but new brave Hierarchin just wants to make friends with everyone.
Hmm.
That's the vibe.
Does the Dragon's Rest fill you with determination?
Yes, everything does now.
You're filled with determination.
Man,
I mean,
want
I'd
the
assume
bloody
Hierarchin
finish.
would be interested in the
History of the place.
magic.
The history,
well.
yeah, the magic. Or how magic is changing in this place as well. That would be interesting.
This
Although I
definitely
don't
does.
think.
It does definitely feel like wild magic, like aberrant magic is sort of infused throughout this place. But yeah, it is incredibly like untamed and unstable.
Do we know what's causing this change in the magic field?
I mean, the absent range. I'm pretty sure you like did a little bit of research into this before, but the absent range was kind of the epicenter of the calamity. So this is kind of the fallout from that. And obviously being closer to the epicenter of it, especially here in Dragon's Rest, you sort of get more of the fallout than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And during the calamity, the god of magic, at least temporarily, died. So magic in particular is pretty screwed up here. Yeah. In
Interesting.
front of you in this, it's pretty like undecorated on the outside. There's this, just large stone building with crumbled fortifications and an enormous hole that just sort of breaches into one of the walls.
I guess we go in.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, so you step into the building, and you are met with like there's changes in the stonework where like you would assume at one point this was a corridor and the wall has been knocked out to just like make it part of a much larger chamber, and you can see just into the chamber ahead of you is this enormous open room where there is a small silver dwarven woman who is sort of looking up to and speaking to a much larger untransformed copper dragon. And I think you're like far away on the opposite side of this. You're not really like hearing what she's saying. But yeah, she doesn't seem to have noticed your entrance at all. And
is she facing away from us?
I'd say it's sort of like side on. If you'd like to, you can.
Could I like? Is it far enough away where I could see her mouth movements?
It's far enough away where I'd require you to make a perception check.
Okay. First roll. Oh, yeah, it's fucking shit.
An 11. Yeah. The only word you're able to make out is fate touched.
Right. Okay.
But
Whatever that fucking means.
yeah. But well, Artemi referred to the group as fate touched. Like you'd at least know that it probably means these guys.
Yeah.
What's our group name? We came up with something else, didn't we, for like the stories that have been passed
Virtuosos.
down?
Yes.
Virtuosos, that's it.
Yeah, but I don't think Francisca would know that you're called that because she's
new.
not really going to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's new, and she doesn't really have any
Oh,
connection with like heralds or anything.
We got a
She's
guy
kind
that's singing songs about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
traveling and spreading word.
Off doing his thing for everyone.
Hmm.
Not O'Malley, but he will definitely make him put a thing in there about O'Malley to try and drum up business for himself afterwards if he come across them with O'Malley there.
Like a little advert in his song.
100%. The brave and great O'Malley.
Right. So, sort of as you guys step in and sort of like step into the light of this room is lit by like torchlight. It's from like there was once a chandelier there, and the chandelier has sort of been destroyed, and now there's just like a bunch of flaming wood hanging from this like chain in the ceiling, and it sort of like illuminates this room and casts like very sharp shadows. But yeah, as you step into the room and step into the light, the copper dragon that had been speaking to Francisca looks like over at you and sort of grunts and like jostles his head in your direction. And then Francisca turns around and like you just see this big smile spread across her face as she like beckons you over to her. Yeah, I'm assuming you all would just like go across, like pass across the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you pass across the room, you like sort of see into where there are doorways where like wooden doors have been knocked out and widened, and you can see into side chambers. You can see the glitter of golden jewels in one of these side chambers, and I think like any of you who would take notice of that, you probably also take notice of the copper dragon looking directly at all of you and watching you approach.
I
Once,
elbow out.
once you are close enough, Francisca sort of rushes up to you and says, "Wonderful! I'm so glad you guys all made it unharmed. I heard that there was some business with another dragon that attacked you. I'm really glad that you all made it here in one piece, except for did Yolya not come with the rest of you?
She's visiting her family.
Make an insight check. 1 second.
I say with
I'm just gonna roll. Okay. I think she gets the gist that like obviously Yolya isn't visiting family, but
But I stare at her eyes like she's visiting family.
Like, wink at
Restate
her.
it.
Wink, wink.
O'Malley kind of butts in and says, "But who really needs her? They've got me now." Just like hands behind his head, like stretching them out, like just being showboatful.
You get elbowed in the belly. It's like
Listen
she don't know
here,
you.
sweetie.
She don't know you.
She like kind of looks on awkwardly at this interaction.
I pull the contract out. It says right here that you owe me money if I do well, and I've been doing well up until now.
Okay, be polite to our new friend and introduce yourself.
I look over at Francesca, obviously, and I'll go, "All right."
Politely.
Put the squatters and do my standard introduction of, "I'm O'Malley Jones. My friends call me Miles. You can call me O'Malley."
I think like because she's seen that like Risu is kind of tense around you, like she rolled pretty well on her insight check. She would like not really take much offense at the "you can call me O'Malley" thing. And she's like, "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, O'Malley. I guess you've been asked to fill in Yolya's absence." And like she's aware of the stone, so I think like she might not necessarily put two and two together, but if she was asked to make a guess at why Yolya or why you weren't saying why Yolya isn't really here, she would probably get somewhere close to the truth.
Yeah.
But
That's really best friends.
She says, "Well, I'm afraid I haven't had the chance to make your acquaintance before, Mr. O'Malley, but it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance now. I trust that you've been made aware of the stakes here.
Trying to remember, have I been made of the full stakes at play here? Or I just know we're helping dragons and that's about it, right? I don't know about some
I think you
ancient.
just know about dragons.
Just
I say, I just look at it and say, you know, and I just turn and start slowly staring at Risu. I don't think I have been. All I know is I'm helping with something you need help with. And that's it. I'd like to know more. And it's just that at this point, still staring really intently at Sarah, at Risu, just like until someone, just because it's she still hasn't told me her name, so I'm not doing it to anyone else.
Well,
He knows what he needs to know at this point.
okay.
Was that in character?
Yeah.
Okay, if that's what you see, then Francisco will trust your judgment and say, okay, I trust that you are confident in your new companion's abilities. Whatever is ahead of all of us, it's going to be arduous. I asked to meet you before you go to meet my mother, partially because I wanted to know that you were all right, and that I want to apologize for not being able to go out and get you all myself. I've been busy here. The Fang of Immolation is a figure from ancient history, and while there are other dragons who have studied ancient histories and who take particular interest in it, events pre-calamity are my speciality. So I've been asked to provide my services as a consultant as much as possible. I've also been looking into old records and seeing what I could dig up and find out about the Fang's previous the time when the Fang of Immolation was incapacitated previously.
So this Fang of Immolation is a dark version of that, like a belief. Is that what it is?
No, the Fang of Immolation is one of the 5 surviving primordial dragons that were sealed away long before even the calamity happened. And the Fang of Immolation in particular is the gigantic red dragon that you guys saw when you were in the elemental plane of fire that was melting Darja's palace and then chased you guys out of the plane of fire.
Oh yeah, that was great.
With a giant laser. It was sealed away long ago by the Colossi, although now it seems the seal has come undone. And obviously, some of the dragons are saying, well, if there's a more powerful dragon around, why aren't we following them? Which has sort of caused this tension at the moment. But Francisca says, well, we can discuss strategy another time, though. What I really wanted to do was, other than check that you were all okay and that you'd made it here in one piece, was sort of warn you before you go and see my mother. While I and some of the other dragons, like Vero, for example, and she motions to Vero, are more friendly towards mortals such as yourself, she isn't. I'd like you all to remember that she took Dragon's Rest by force. That she is very wary of letting anyone who could potentially be a danger to her nest be allowed into it. You're kind of only being allowed in right now because the situation is desperate.
Have you made her aware of our friend, The Rock? Dwayne Johnson.
She looks over at Erlan, who is just sort of like kicking his feet, and he nervously eyes a banana peel that has appeared in the room. And she says, I'd thought it best that I leave it to you to broach the subject. I was going to ask you ahead of time whether you've put any consideration into what you would like as a reward upon assisting us.
I think that was where we were heading with this, really. I
Well,
think
of
we
course,
really need to get this issue sorted.
my mother will be able to destroy the rock. That shouldn't be too difficult for her to do. She is very, very powerful, especially here within her own nest. I meant more in terms of material rewards or, you know, recompense for your hard work.
O'Malley's eyes light up a lot in this.
Hmm.
Oh, you don't say. Money sounds like a great plan.
The copper dragon takes one sort of like lays down one foot like heavily enough that it causes the ground to shake next to you. And Francisca like shoots a look back up at him, and she says, "Yes, well, money is not something we're short of, although it may take some convincing if you wish to part any dragon from their horde."
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't plan on taking it from a horde.
O'Malley's
Have to
going to
pay
get
us
us killed,
somehow.
isn't he?
They have to pay
Trying
us
to get
somehow.
paid.
Come on now.
Of course, I mean, the point of this is that you should receive payment for your services rendered. I was just, hoping to help you get into the right mindset before you go into negotiations and helping you to try and get some realistic expectations. We, of course, are exceptionally wealthy here, and if it's money that you're after, then that can be provided. Dragons are also very powerful, and if you wanted an alliance, as I know that you have been trying to improve your own position, ready ahead of this big problem with Zernas, it may be worth speaking and asking for help. Although, again, I don't know how successful that will be. Dragon's Rest isn't exactly what I would call a friendly place to your kind.
No, but any chance of a potential relationship with your mother would be
I
worth a
think
shot.
I think that depends entirely on what you are willing to offer to us. And I think the more danger that you are willing to put yourselves in, the more you may be able to request in return. I'd like to remind you, of course, that the Fang of Immolation is probably a more terrifying opponent than even Ormadora would have been if you'd faced it without the seismic oscillator to simply get it to flee underground. I don't think, in terms of an actual fight, you would stand any chance against it. The only creature that I know of that could even potentially go toe to toe with it would be my mother. So the more danger that you're willing to put yourself in, and the more help that you're willing to provide for us, I'm sure you'll be able to ask for a more substantial reward. Whether it be assistance in the future, whether it just be unhindered passage through Dragon's Rest. I know that you'd planned on visiting Nexus. Whether it be money or magical items or information or anything else. I was just hoping to help you get an idea of what you might want.
We'll discuss with your mother and see where we can help. Discuss with ourselves. We generally wing it, and it tends to work in our favor. But
she smiles at that.
Yeah,
she would also probably look over at Hyarkin and say, Hyarkin, you've always had more of an affinity with magical things. Was there anything here that you would have wanted? And this place is, a treasure hoard for all sorts of magical secrets. There's things of incredible power here.
I mean, I've been incredibly interested in how this place affects magic and the way that it works, but I'm not too sure about any magical items in this area. Could you tell me some more about them, or whether I'd be able to convince them to give me some sort of magical item as a reward, rather than
Hand it
payment,
over.
perhaps?
Well, it depends exactly on how powerful a magic item you were after. If it was something to assist you in battle, then I'm sure several of you could have such rewards. If it was knowledge of the magics throughout this place, perhaps you could be allowed to study or access information here.
You know me,
Um,
knowledge is power.
if it was something more dangerous and unstable, I know that my mother kept a certain artifact in the as a centerpiece to her hoard, a deck of cards. Although it's incomplete, she jealously guards it. And while I know a little bit about magic myself, of course, I've mostly just detected that it's an incredibly powerful and unstable artifact. Perhaps it
What
may
is
be
your mother?
worth, in terms of what kind of dragon she is.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't neatly fit into one category. She's much older than a lot of the mutations that have sort of occurred after the calamity. And, I believe the calamity had an effect on her as well, but her scales are both red and gold. You'll find many dragons here that, while they are chromatic, are not necessarily of an evil temperament. Make no mistake, we're intelligent creatures, and we're all free to make moral choices for ourselves. A lot of red or chromatic dragons are have more unstable temperaments. Perhaps they're quick to anger or prideful, but I'm sure you've seen that that can be the case in metallic dragons as well. Generally, you'll find that most of the dragons here are those that conform to our rules and that are willing to do as they're told by the the matriarch. And it's outliers like me that are considered weirdos, and thus I live separately for the most part.
Is there a giveaway telltale sign of bad dragons, I suppose?
Generally, it would be when they attack you.
I was going to
I
say it'll
mean-
be fire coming towards you or something.
Okay, fine. I just thought, maybe they have a black
Unfortunately,
flag or something.
I would be very wary of any chromatic dragon you meet outside of Dragon's Rest. While they're intelligent, if they have been kicked out of Dragon's Rest, it was generally for a good reason. Many of the metallic dragons, like myself or Vero, simply choose to leave because we want to pursue our own things, or because we're interested in the mortal races such as yourselves, which makes us unusual by dragon standards. So we're allowed to leave and study and experience the rest of the world as we see fit. If there is a dragon who is not allowed to return to Dragon's Rest, that's someone that you should be very careful about.
Okay.
There are dragons here within the city that don't neatly fit into one category.
Each to their own, I guess.
Yeah. And while you've been having this conversation, Vero has walked up to the copper dragon and has been muttering something to it. I think with probably definitely O'Malley's passive perception, you will be able to make out what it is. But unfortunately, he's speaking in Draconic, which I doubt is a language you speak.
Speak two languages: Common and Dwarven.
Okay. Does
That's
anyone
really
speak
great.
Draconic?
I don't think so.
Didn't you, Rob? Did
Uh,
your character have
not
Draconic?
No, he was.
Primordial.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
I forgot where to read that. Is it called?
It's in background, I think. Yeah, background.
Yeah,
And it should be in
languages.
your known languages.
Oh, I have Draconic.
There
Okay.
we go.
What's your passive perception, Sarah?
Wait, where do I see that? Is
So
that
go to skills.
On
perception,
skills,
and then it's the blue number.
Oh, right, 14.
14. Okay, that's not too bad. So I don't think you would have like caught every single word of the conversation because A, it's in like a second language and you're already like having one conversation. But you are able to get the gist of it. It's mostly like the name Artemi catches your ear, and then you sort of tune in for a moment after that. And essentially, Vero is warning this copper dragon, who he calls Everan, that Artemi attacked you all, and that he didn't see whether Artemi died or not, and that he fell somewhere a little ways away from the city, and he sort of gives like a direction. And Everan, the copper dragon, grunts and replies in Draconic that he'll have someone look into it. And then just sort of
Nice.
like steps past you all, gives you all one last distrustful look, and then leaves. And Francisca sighs and says, "You'll have to excuse Everan. I promise he's not an unkind person, but it's very, very rare that anyone be allowed into our home. It hasn't happened in centuries.
What happened the last time?
It was a hero named Aegis who was invited in to meet with the matron. They had some discussion that the rest of us weren't privy to, and then he stormed off and raged. But most of the time, whenever one of whenever one of your kind enters the city, they've snuck in to try and rob us. And most of the time when that happens, they end up as a snack for someone.
Have we heard of this hero?
Ages, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
He's
Mortis's son.
He's
And
the hero who created Bulwark. He was the founder.
Yes.
Mm.
I
think
believe you
I'm-
actually initially learned something about him when you were looking into Dragon's Rest, and other people who have visited before was that quite famously he'd been invited to Dragon's Rest one time, but there wasn't a lot of other information about the event.
No, just that he's left unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing Erlan and O'Malley would probably have a bit more information because obviously it's a famous tale of a hero.
Yeah, but like stories about Ages are kind of like stories about Hercules.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of it's been mythologized a lot. So it's difficult to know like what is and isn't accurate. Some of the stories say that he won an arm wrestle against the Dragon Queen, and some
Who
of
makes
the
that up?
bards.
I was gonna say, hearing probably the one about the arm wrestling. I go, Aegis. Is it true that he had an arm wrestle with your mum?
Francisca like chuckles and says, "Well, I highly doubt it, and if he did, I imagine he probably wouldn't have won."
No, from what I heard, he actually did. I modelled myself after that kind of strength, and I just start flexing one of my arms.
She sort of rolls her eyes and goes, "Yes, you seem very impressive. I can understand why they hired you."
At this point, I'm also like, "Hey, I don't come alone, And there's behind me is also flexing because I've asked him to do it in my head. It's
Is he still changing colours?
Yeah, he's
Still
bright
changing
pink right
colours.
now.
Yeah, and he's also flexing along with me, showing off like that we're strong.
Mm-hmm.
Stop
Francisca
flirting.
seems a lot more
Flirting.
interested in the Echo, and says that is a very unusual creature that is following you.
I turn to, yeah, he's a bit of a dick.
The Echo
I don't know
flashes.
how to get rid of him.
What were you about to say? Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, I just said stop flirting.
Ah, okay.
Stop flirting.
Stop flirting.
And it's like obviously hearing that with my passive perception. It's like she looks like a dolphin now, but she's still a dragon.
She nods her head and says, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not very interested in humans." And she says, "But if you wanted to learn more about your echo, I'd be delighted to examine it at some time. I know a little bit about magic myself. There's probably other scholars in the city who are better at it than me, but..."
I think on it for more than a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's O'Malley, and everything takes more than time when he's thinking. It's like some of you swear you hear a grinding sound as like the cobwebs and rust begin to like
The gears in his head.
yeah. I might take you up on that offer.
She was like about to say, "Don't hurt yourself," seeing that you were like really straining with this.
It's for a minute. It's like feel a bit lightheaded. It's like and just take. I just kind of just sit on the floor for a second, like rubbing my temples.
Well, with that, Francisca will say to you all, "Well, I advise you all take a little while to discuss among yourselves what you might want from this arrangement, what might interest you all, and when you're ready, I can bring you all before my mother." Of course, I'll be right here if you need my input on anything, but I think it's probably best if I give you all some privacy.
Yeah.
And Erland's like, "Do you have any wine?" And Francisca just sort of backs away slowly.
Do dragons drink wine?
Some of them do.
Do they hoard wine?
Is there a dragon
Yes.
tavern?
Wow.
If it's valuable, dragons will hoard it. So they probably have very, very old, very, very fancy wine.
That's what Erland wants as his reward.
Yep.
Probably off.
1,000-year-old wine.
He would drink it, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Dead.
Mhm.
O'Malley, having some idea of things being worth some value, probably would have been very upset by that. Him drinking this. That could have been worth thousands. Would be the case.
Mhm. But yeah, Erland just sort of goes, "I mean, like, I know what I want out of this place," and like holds up the rock.
O'Malley's still on the floor and is essentially like, seriously, I don't care what you want. All I want is, and then just stares at one of the piles of gold. It's like,
You don't help yourself.
listen, I know what I'm doing. Sweet.
No.
Trust me, I have an intelligence of 6. I know what I'm doing.
Thank you, Logan. I have an intelligence of 6. I know what I'm doing.
You don't know how much it's out of. It could be out of 7.
He has an intelligence of 6 brain cells. 5 of them are working on how he manages to live.
Mhm.
But yeah,
as
just staring at this cold. Just
it's pretty like O'Malley.
A
I
lot
think
of
is
money.
fairly simple. Like he doesn't really have any ambitions beyond this.
That money's a lot of money there. You could do a lot of things with that kind of money. Staring at that pile.
Yeah, the rest of you are going to have to continue trying to make your way across the continent and continue to try and fight Zernas. Maybe worth thinking about what you might want in order to make that more manageable.
Yeah, well, I definitely want some sort of whatever they can give me to do with magic, whether that's something stronger to use to fight with, or whether that's something to help me understand more about the world that could help us out in future situations, or I don't really know what other possibilities there are really, but that's what I want to get out of this.
Okay.
Over money, something more useful or interesting to Hierarchin.
What about Risu?
Potential alliance. Or a friend.
Alliance, yeah.
And what about Art? You've been quite quiet, Robert.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't know. A safe passage between the two zones. That's what Art wants from this.
Okay. So those are all fairly reasonable.
I was gonna reference the thing that was in my background that we wrote way at the beginning of writing this character, which was reclaim the lands and the title from those who once stole from me, basically. But that'll come in time.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it'd be difficult to get back your old title in your old world, but it'd certainly be possible to become titled here. Technically, you all do have a title. You all have a title within Bulwark, which was, I believe, you're all Watchers there, where you were all given a badge of office before you left. Sorry, I'm just trying to do something a moment. Where is it? Documents. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So, yeah, Francisca says, well, if you all have an idea of what it is you would want, I will tell you that I've warned my mother about the stone, and she sort of laughed it off. For starters, I assume she's not really very worried about the Deep Terror, but also I'm sure she has set up some sort of measures that would probably prevent that stone from functioning within this city. It may be worth asking her exactly what that is, but she has all sorts of mysterious powers that I'm not privy to. If you're all ready, I can lead you to her. She has made her base within the center of the main spire, which would be here on the map. And,
Wait, ping that again? I had my menu open.
It's just the central spire.
Next to where we are then.
Yes.
We're in that building just underneath it, aren't we?
Yep.
Yep.
Right, Taito chilling.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just having Taito represent the party right now.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Does Taito get anything from this?
I don't know, I assume Taito gets whatever Risu gets.
Some cat food.
Friends.
Yeah, cat food.
Friend.
Dragon food.
Dragon friends.
Yeah. I mean, like, you've had reasonable conversations with these dragons. They didn't seem to be, like, immediately friendly, and, like, you can definitely sense, like, a very uneasy air. But this feels more like speaking to people who are used to being, like, used or betrayed and thus have become very distrustful of outsiders. It's not like they are inherently cruel or evil here.
They haven't tried to kill us yet. So it's going better than I thought it would.
But, yeah, Francisca will say, okay, well, if you're all ready, then I can lead you. And with that, I think she would transform and say, I hope you don't mind, but it's bad manners for me to stand before my mother in a dwarven form. And with that, she, like, ducks her head and steps out of the enormous hole in the wall. And, yeah, looking at the map on the table that she had been stood before, it just appears to be a map of Horizon and the Absent Range. Not too dissimilar to the one that you have. But if you are all ready, she will lead you to the main spire.
What's her mother called again?
They've simply referred to her as the Queen or the Matron.
Oh, okay.
We haven't got an actual name yet.
Mhm.
Kind of reminds me of a certain someone in this party.
Mm.
Her name's Sweetie.
Nah.
It is for new until she gives it me, sweetie.
Nah.
Yeah, you ain't got a choice.
Meh. But yeah, you as Francisca leads you through the streets, she speaks to you all telepathically and says, I mean, I shouldn't really need to tell you to be careful about your manners, but just so that you're all aware, it would be bad manners to immediately meet my mother's gaze, and if you must refer to her, please refer to her as Your Majesty.
That's a German
at this point, knowing he would probably say something out of turn, O'Malley kind of goes, "All right," and then
Zip.
does like zips his mouth and is
Yeah.
basically like, "I won't say anything."
The the
Just to try and
echo
cover.
like
Yeah.
the echo also like makes an exaggerated zipping motion and then shrugs it because he can't speak anyway.
Kind of like look at him and like, like what?
I mean, Francisca will like look back over at you all and say, "That's not to say that you can't speak, or that I mean, dragons are literally quite thick-skinned, but just don't go out of your way to, intentionally offend her. You have to remember that you will most certainly be watched by other dragons during this audience, and B, she could very easily just probably melt all of you."
I don't want to be melted.
I'm sure that won't be a problem. And yeah, you all are led towards the central spire, which just sort of looms as this enormous, dark, imposing tower in the center of the city. Unlike the rest of the city, this sort of does still seem to have some sort of decoration or architecture. In fact, a lot of it seems to be something that was added after the city was ruined. Writing in Draconic, these enormous stairs, and even statues, which were probably not made by dragons, but were probably stolen by dragons and then used to decorate this tower as they sort of like look over, like very strange gargoyles. But it's not statues of monsters; it's statues of like well-dressed elves and dwarves, and like it seems to be like statues of kings and queens that have been taken and used as decoration to adorn the outside of this spire. They sort of like all like there seems to be like small platforms built into a lot of the lower levels of this spire where they sort of like seem to look down on anyone as they approach. And I think like those of you who are more sensitive to magic, you can feel that there is an enormous amount of magic gathered in this one place, even from just like even within the absent range, in the way that magic doesn't really work properly here. There seems to be such a large volume of magical artifacts and items gathered in this one building that it just seems particular. It like feels like you're breathing soup rather than air.
Yummy.
I think like O'Malley's the only one who really doesn't do magic full stop. But even like for you with like your instincts, you could still like feel that there is something strange about this place.
Yeah.
Hyarkin in particular, like being an expert on magic, this feels like if it wasn't in the absent range and magic wasn't muted here, this would probably be dangerous.
I really
But,
want to try using the spell to see what will happen, but I'll restrain
Mhm.
myself.
I've somewhat changed the rules of it to simplify it a little bit because it was kind of,
It'll kill us all.
but
Electric
also
nipple. The whole place
Electric
collapses.
missile destruction.
Yeah, world destruction.
He casts Fireball by accident.
Yeah, the whole universe implodes.
Wrong button.
But yeah,
And we wake up back where we started in episode 1.
You wake up in the back of a car. You hear, you're finally awake. They caught you trying to cross the border.
Oh my god, it was all
Skyrim.
It's like Lost.
Yeah. We were in purgatory all along.
Yeah. But yeah, so right now you're currently stood outside of the spire, and Francisca will step and sort of like hesitate for a moment. This enormous like silver dragon stood before these large stone doors at the front of the spire, and say, just I'm sure you guys are going to do great. Don't worry too much. Don't be too nervous. I asked you all to come here because I'm sure that we need you. So I'm sure that my mother will see that as well. And with that, like, she presses one claw against the door and sort of shifts this really heavy stone as it opens up ahead of you, leaving like a very dimly lit hallway leading deeper into the spire. And at the end of this hallway is a brilliant light. And as Francisca sort of leads you down this hallway, you see like this light sort of reflects off her silver scales, and like it's kind of like a weird draconic disco ball effect as it like shimmers and like illuminates the hallway around you all. And there's just this very surreal feeling as you slowly step down this corridor and towards this golden light at the end of it. Until eventually the light grows and grows, and you can get a more clear vision of what is at the end of this corridor. And it is an enormous, mountainous pile of treasure, all glittering and reflecting this very like pale light, probably not lit by like usual orange torches. And eventually you come to the end of this long dark corridor and step out into the light, and you like gain this view of this, what is kind of brilliant in a really strange way. In the middle of this ruined city, there's this incredibly ornate, enormous chamber, which feels like the only piece of like actual architecture that you have come across since coming here. As there's this very high domed ceiling, which is probably impractical given that there's an enormous tower above it. And looking above you, you see two particularly large black dragons like peering down above the doorway at all of you. And you sort of step underneath them and past them and into the chamber where what you had initially taken to be a part of this gold pile is a very, very tiny little pseudo dragon that like looks up, casts an eye at you, meets Francisca's gaze, and then sort of just lifts up and flutters off, flying up into the ceiling. And then you're kind of just left in silence for a moment, with Francisca just sort of stood with all of you in this large room with an enormous pile of gold and these two large black dragons watching you all. And it's like you can sense that Francisca seems a little bit tense as well in this situation. And she tries to reassure the rest of you by sending you a telepathic message saying, don't worry, that pseudo dragon was my mother's herald, and I'm sure that he's just gone off to fetch her. I'm not entirely sure why she wasn't here initially, though. And with that, you begin to hear, like, feel the ground shaking, and you can, like, see and hear this enormous pile of gold that you are stood in front of, like, clattering and shifting as the ground, like, shaking, um, like, shifts it all until you hear like the shifting of a heavy stone door on the other side of this pile, which is clearly like obscured by this mountainous hoard of treasure. And then you hear like gold shifting as something like steps and moves and displaces enormous amounts of gold as it climbs over. And you see the enormous head of a like an enormous red scaled head, sort of like emerge above this mountain of gold, and the rest of this body, this sort of mix of red and gold scales that like towers over it, and like to get a sense of scale, she must be like double the size of what Artemi was, at least, probably even more than that. She's like the size of a house as yeah, this enormous dragon looks down at all of you, and you hear in a booming voice, not telepathically at all, uh, this dragon speaks and says, "Francisca, these are the fate touched that you spoke of, pawns of Istus. I am to believe that you are all here to help with my family problems. Who
Yes.
speaks for you all?"
I'll speak.
Okay. Ot steps
Baby
forward.
voice.
I was gonna say
I'll speak.
O'Malley was gonna go and try and like slyly kick forward Reese just because it's kind of funny.
Um,
Yeah.
Erlan flashes you a thumbs up, Ot. And this enormous dragon, like, peers down at your halfling form, and then one of her eyes flashes gold for a moment, and she, like, tilts her head at you and says, "You are not quite what you appear to be, little one."
As in.
Dragons have true sight, and they can see through illusions,
Oh,
like
Yeah,
a
okay.
they really
changeling.
are.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I guess this is where Erlan finds out I'm a. Well, actually finds out that I'm a changeling.
I think everybody does that.
No, you've seen me change like really early on, but
Well, like, I
very
think
little
they've
stuff.
all seen you, like, shift forms before, but you've always sort of, like, shrugged it off, I think. Maybe Erlan hasn't.
I think he.
O'Malley definitely has no idea what's going on.
Oh, that's true.
I think Erlan saw when he was sleeping or something like that. Me change as I walked into the room or something like that.
Sorry, the music's struggling. I'm just rebooting it. Yeah. Sorry, say that again, please, Rob.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Erlan saw me change, but I was like, "You're just dreaming things. I don't know what you're talking about." But yeah,
Mhm.
he may has, yeah, he's gonna have to know. So Ots, I guess, is gonna change into his actual form, which is a tall, white skinned. Yeah, it's like a Slenderman sort of deal.
Yeah, it's sort of, well, I mean, it's up to you how your, like, character appears, how you would prefer it to be, Rob.
Yeah. Well,
But,
yeah. So Ots, yeah, he's like a six. I don't know. I do know his height. He is 7 feet tall. I was gonna guess to say 7 feet, but he is actually 7 feet. Kind of he's a. I'd say aged. He looks old, but his face but he's not wrinkly.
Mm.
It's difficult to explain. Like his face looks sort of drooped and shadowed. His
Yeah,
eyes are dimmed.
He's a raisin.
He's a raisin. Except for he's a squeezed raisin, so it's not so wrinkly. Yeah, his eyes are kind of shadowed, sort of like well, the opposite of what is it, Morticia
in Adam's
in
Family.
Adam's Family, yeah, the
Yeah.
opposite of that.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like one of the main things about changelings is the way that a lot of people would describe them is sort of indistinct. They're like these like gray or white skinned creatures who like their true forms. It's very difficult to really make out their facial features. They do have faces and owl mouths and noses and eyes, but like it's not something that they're meant to show really under normal circumstances, unless like you have a very particular belief set as a changeling. Most changelings are very rarely ever in their true form. So, I mean, especially for you, I don't think any of you have ever like met a changeling before, because I don't know whether they would have existed in your worlds or not. But he is a very alien-looking being.
I'm like a Death
Sorry.
Eater.
O'Malley legitimately like in shock goes, "What the fuck is that?" Just like out loud, like as loud as he can, like in pure disbelief.
Turns around and just goes, shh. This is me.
Yeah, it's again very like unsettling to see this like weird monstrous creature that had been your friend, and like
No,
Erlan.
no, shakes my head and just like looks away. No,
Are you gonna say he was your favorite?
no, it was just like it just disturbed him massively. Seeing this creature.
Erlan like is like looking at his bottle of wine, like, am I seeing things? And then like just sort of puts the bottle of wine back in his bag. I cannot get music to play right now. I might have to just stop for 2 seconds. But, sorry about this. I'm just gonna kick Lunabot for 2 seconds and then bring it back.
Abuse.
Cheers.
Kick and wash
Lunabot,
it down.
add
This
server.
robot's still gonna kill you first. When the robot apocalypse
They
happens.
can try. Okay.
DM powers don't work in real life.
Damn
Just saying.
it. I'm nothing without my DM powers. Let's try this one. Shortly. Boom. Come on, Lunabot, I believe in you.
Believe in me who believes in you.
Okay. We're getting something from Lunabot now. Good. So, yeah, this the matriarch looks down at you and doesn't really seem to react to this changing of your form, having been able to see through it already. But you feel like this sort of satisfaction from her. She says, "Good. If you are to negotiate with me, I would prefer that prefaces and deceptions are dropped beforehand." And like Francisca just sort of looks down at the floor, and she says, "You are aware by now that the Fang of Immolation has returned, one of my ancestors, and that now he is likely to challenge my rule. Francisca has told me that you are willing to provide your services in order to assist in repelling this invasion. Does she speak the truth? Or is she misguided?"
Yeah, she's speaking the truth, Your Majesty.
Excellent. And what is it that you would ask in exchange for your assistance?
What was it? What is it we would ask? Is it what you said?
Everyone had a different
I think
request.
Oh, specific for each of us. Yeah. So I have a different ask. For each of us have a different ask. Mine is I wish to have a connection, a safe path between the two sides of the island that are completely divided by the Absent Range for transit and transport of goods.
The matron looks down at you, and I'm going to just roll an insight check a moment. Just out of curiosity, Rob, does Ott have any sort of ill will here? Does he plan on, stealing or taking advantage in any way?
What of
Of
his ancestors?
this privileged position, being allowed to travel through Dragon's Rest? Or is this I would like to go through Dragon's Rest and spend as little time here as possible, thank you very much, madam?
I mean, I'll visit the old queen every now and again I pass through.
Mm-hmm. This is more, she is trying to get a sense of, like, whether you're going to be a danger to her people or not.
It's not ill will.
Okay.
It's to open up communication between the two sides.
Okay.
It's well will.
She stops and considers for a moment, as there's this sort of long ponderous pause as she studies you intently. And it feels kind of weird. I imagine you already feel kind of naked in your true form as it is.
Yeah.
So having this enormous creature just staring down at you is a very strange and uncomfortable experience.
Does it make Ott's stomach turn?
I mean, that's up to you. But I imagine it's not a comfortable experience for you.
No.
But
Constitution.
eventually she very slowly nods her head and says, it does not sound like you are asking for anything unreasonable, and I don't sense any desire to misuse this privilege from you. Should you and your companions assist us, then you will be allowed safe passage through Dragon's Rest, so long as you are not a threat to myself or my family. And then she shifts her head, and I think she would look over at O'Malley next and say, you are most certainly not fate touched, and you are not one of the heroes that my daughter spoke of. Nonetheless, you have come here with them. But I would assume you also wish for a share of the rewards. What is it that you desire?
O'Malley goes to speak, realizes he zipped his mouth, and then unzips it because he's stupid. Remember? So he's like, he goes, and
you hear a very low. Your insight's pretty high, actually.
Yes.
For a moment, it sounds like a growl, and then you realize it's actually kind of a chuckle.
I also then pull out the contract and say, well, they hired me. As you can see from this, I'm not looking directly at her, but I'm pointing, looking up at her, but looking away at the same time.
You're just not meeting her gaze.
Yeah, and I'm kind of also staring at the giant pile of gold in front of me and say, they offered me up to 20% of their earnings from this mission, or every mission by the looks of it. I can't remember. So I just want gold, lots and lots of gold. Give it basically me.
Again, with your insight, you can sort of get a general sense that she finds you kind of entertaining, and
maybe other contracts from you that give me money. It's I'll take it from anyone. I don't really care as long as I get money in the end.
That's one
Okay.
more than one ask.
And
Shut up, you.
I'm going to ask you the same question as well, Alex. Does O'Malley have any ill intentions or any desire to misuse this position of privilege?
He just wants the money, dude. He just really wants the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's his whole thing is, man, I just need that money.
Okay.
You already know the reason he wants that money, so I'm not
Yeah.
even going to explain it, but yeah.
She ponders for a moment and stares down at you, and you feel like an ant in this creature's presence. As you're sort of intensely studied by this enormous ancient creature who, after some consideration, says, "You are unusual. Your words are greedy, but I don't sense any greed from you. You don't want this money for yourself. It seems as though you have already made a deal with those you travel with. And I can promise that as a part of their reward, there will be quite certainly a significant sum of gold. And if that is what you desire, I am sure that those you travel with will honor their word to you."
At this point, he goes, "Well, I certainly hope so, because I'd be a bit biffed."
For a moment, the echo flickers and disappears. And then there's a few seconds where it doesn't reappear.
At that, I'm like, also attempt to try and force it to come back, as I would normally do if it fucks
Mhm.
off for a while.
You are able to
Anything?
make it come back, but you have to strain a little bit. It takes a little bit of effort.
He kind of looks around the chamber. Is there anything other than, obviously, is it coming? It was like, well, I can't even work out why it disappeared. Is there anything you can try and discern
Make an
from anything?
intelligence check for me.
Oh wow, yeah, of course. 9. Oh wow, that's actually not too bad for me.
Well, I mean, you felt an incredibly strong and very strange magical presence here within this chamber. And you imagine that that's probably got something to do with what just happened. That there is something weird in this room. And the matron continues to look at you for a moment and says, "You've been touched by the wild magic of this world in a way that very few others have. I'm surprised that your request had nothing to do with that."
I kind of look towards her and say, "I'll find out eventually."
I'm sure you will. And with that, she averts her gaze and looks at Risu and says, "You are very small to be going on such grand adventures. I wonder what would one such as you wish for?"
It'd be friendship. We have some scary enemies ahead.
Moment.
Those
Amali kind of looks away from research, thinking, that's not me.
Okay, your passive insight is 14. Yeah, again, you for a moment hear a growl and then realize that it's in fact just a very strange chuckle come from this enormous creature. She says, "Very few who come to my home come in search of friendship. When you say that you wish for friendship from my kind, do you mean that you wish for us to aid you?"
As on equal terms, where I can aid you, I'd try where I can, and if possible, I'd ask for aid from yourselves, within reason.
Just one moment. Okay. Sarah, I'm going to ask you the same question. Does Risu have any ill will towards Dragon Rest, or any desire to misuse your particular position of privilege?
No, she has no mean bone apart from O'Malley.
Okay. And she looks at you and says, I don't sense any dishonesty from you, small one, but an alliance between dragons and your kind is something that has not happened in a very, very long time. Some of my children have made me aware that there is a creature to the east, some ancient being from worlds afar, not too dissimilar to the one that caused the calamity that ruined this world so long ago. Francisca has told me you mean to defeat this creature. Do you
Yeah.
wish for the aid of my kind in this battle?
Yeah. I think we will need the strength of dragons to defeat this enemy.
Okay. Again, she takes a moment to consider and says, the alliance you ask for is no small request. However, I will not deny your request. If you wish for our aid in your battles, then you must provide a significant service in return. I will be expecting you all to put your lives in very serious danger if you wish for my family to do the same for you.
I will put my heart and soul into it.
Okay. And how's Taito right now?
I mean, he doesn't sense any anxiety from me, so I'm pretty sure he's.
Okay.
I mean,
Just
he's seen
rolling around
dragons
in the
before.
gold.
He's also fought the dragon on the boat before.
Yeah.
He's
So,
pretty calm.
okay.
Does
That's
he
fine.
get a? Does he get a request?
I was going to say, does Taito have ill intent?
Steal the fish.
Just
To
he
be
just wants
fair,
some dreamies.
she probably would ask him. And
Anything with a conscience.
she, well, from her perspective, you and Taito aren't that far apart. And yeah, she takes a moment and then reaches down with one of her talons and crushes a vial of something which like spreads a gas up that she inhales, and then her eyes glow this brilliant gold as she looks down at Taito. And Taito sort of sits to attention and stares intently, probably directly up at her. And this moment of silence passes between them. And then you hear her begin to let out that strange growling laugh as she looks back at you, Risu, and says, "You have a very unusual companion. There are not many creatures so loyal."
Well,
Is that in game?
thank you.
What will I do? O'Malley literally burst out laughing hearing that. He is just like like that kind of laugh.
Wait, where's my pee-pee?
Is it a cackle?
Yeah, it's similar to a little cackle. He's just like, and then like obviously recomposes himself, and he's like, "Sorry, the noise she made, it made me laugh."
What did Taito say?
You have to ask Taito. Smile.
That smile.
Yeah, that's up to you.
Learn animal friend. Learn speak to animals. Maybe you can find out.
Okay.
And you are sort of left in this very weird situation for a moment with the fact that, yeah, this enormous dragon just spoke to your cat. And then the moment is broken as she says, "There is still one among you who has not asked for a reward." And she looks down at Erlan, who is sort of standing kind of soberly at the back of the group. And would say something to the effect of, "I made a deal with a creature, and in exchange, it had me carry a particular item. I haven't been able to get rid of that item at all, and I was told you could probably do it." And he holds up the stone. And the matron looks at the stone and says, "Yes, my daughter warned me of this cursed artifact you carry. Right now, you are in my domain, and my power exceeds that of the deep terror who gave you that artifact. It will not be able to perceive you for as long as you are in Dragon's Rest. And I imagine that the pebble will struggle to perform its purpose anyway, so close to the absent range."
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, surely we should have got Erland to go first, since these stones, pretty dodge. But good thing the absent ranges.
Well,
Kinda
he
help
went
when you say
first.
that. Wait, can he throw it? Throw it out the window,
There isn't any windows, but he looks at it and he drops it on the ground, and it does not spring back to his hand.
He's been clutching it this whole time.
Man, I wish,
You could have just dropped it.
yeah, I wish Matt was here to kind of. I want to know how he'd
So-
react to that. Oh god, finally!
Is this because of the strange magical effects of
missed-
this area?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can drink 2 wines at the same time.
The matron looks down at him and says, "The curse is not yet broken. As soon as you leave my domain, that item will return to your side. However, I can destroy that item for you. And if that is what you would like,
What would be the
then
cost, Your Majesty?
that is what we will be discussing next. I now know what all of you want, and it is now time to discuss what I want. Specifically, how much danger you are willing to put yourselves in."
You might have missed Hyakin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did.
Poor
Oh.
Nick.
Fuck Nick.
Let's just say that
Oh.
Erlan told her what I wanted.
No, let's do it. So we'll retcon and we'll say that after Erlan drops the pebble, she looks over at Hyakin and says, "You have been quiet since we entered.
Oh yes,
You
it's
seem-
almost like you forgot all about me. I
You
didn't
don't
say that
seem
her.
to strike me as a warrior. What would drive you to come and pledge your life in battle on my behalf?"
What would drive you to come?
Yes, so I'm not particularly interested in fighting or in monetary gain from this. I'm more interested in magic and understanding. So I'm aware that there's some quite powerful magical items in this area, and perhaps I would be able to obtain one of those as a reward, as well as some understanding of this world and perhaps what happened before the calamity, or any other knowledge that you can share. Your Majesty. And I
Please.
bow.
Again, you hear this strange chuckle,
She likes us.
and you've made a good impression. And yeah, for a moment, you see her eyes look down into the pile of treasure at a deck of cards.
Yes. Tell me about the cards.
And
No.
Would you like to play Snap?
You don't want to be playing Snap with these cards, if I think I know what they are.
and she takes a moment and says, "Do you consider yourself to be a gambler, Hyarkin? Or are you the sort who likes to think carefully before taking action?"
Uses wild magic every time.
I like to think I'm someone who considers their actions, although the way that this adventure has gone so far, I'd say I'm more of a spur of the moment thing, especially since I was reborn after dying recently. I seem to have changed.
Yeah, says, "Very well, I understand. And in that case, I do have something that would interest you. I, in fact, have several somethings that would interest you, but since you have asked for magical artifacts, then there is one item. I cannot give it to you, but I can allow you to use it.
Okay.
It is the centerpiece of my collection, and it has been here for longer than this city has." And on the tip of her talon, she balances this pack of cards, which doesn't shift for even a moment. It's almost like they're all glued together. None of the cards drop.
I bet they're good at
And
making a tower with.
and
Your Majesty.
she says, "Ordinarily, drawing one of these carries a considerable risk. It is why I cannot allow this deck to leave the city. It could very easily damn anyone who draws a single card, or it could make them. The issue is its consequences quite often reach far beyond the person who draws the cards. However, with some time and preparation, I have ways of influencing what card is drawn. I can allow you to draw one card, and while I cannot tell you exactly what that card's effects will be, I can promise that they will be favorable for you."
Gold Public wants to know if it's a deck of many things.
It is.
Ah.
I knew it.
What's that from? Out of curiosity.
Many good things, I hope.
The Deck of Many Things is a classic D&D item from all the way back in 1st edition.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It's probably the
Historical
most-
importance then.
It's arguably the most powerful magic item in the game.
Arguably. Some of the cards are amazingly good, like you're granted several wishes, and some of the cards are amazingly bad, like your soul is ripped from your body and cast into another plane, and they have to go on
Oh
an
my
adventure to rescue you.
Yarkin's been there, done that. But
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
wishing he had lucky now. Wait. Do you have
Wait a minute. Yeah, I do.
Ooh.
Anyway, she's already promised that whatever card I pick will be good for me, right?
Mhm.
Do I trust her?
You can make an insight check if you would like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, she is a terrifying dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of putting my life on the line here.
These aren't guaranteed to be positive, are they?
Under normal circumstances, they aren't. However, A, I wouldn't like to break my campaign, and B, it would feel kind of bad of me to just like give you a card that instantly kills you as a reward for this.
Come on, you just
Just
love
smoke.
killing
Please.
Hierarchin. I know
Pure
what you're like.
chaos that would
Do it.
bring.
Do it.
Okay.
Some
So we
some
got-
of the cards that you can draw from that are insane.
Bring back Hamilton Glump.
I can show you what some of them do later if you would like. But
Yeah, I'd like to
After
see
the
that.
session, it's crazy.
yeah, after the session.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 10 for insight anyway. What does that tell
Yeah.
me?
It tells you
Nothing.
very
Nothing.
little about the enormous dragon. It very much seems like I don't know. You kind of get a sense that like when you first stepped in this room, the power dynamic had very much not been in your favor, and like things have now sort of begun to shift in such a way that now she is considering you with a lot more interest. But you can't really sense this woman's about to eat me.
Yeah. New brave Hierarchin doesn't care anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He'll just go along with it.
That's his kink now.
That's his kink. What, not caring about things?
What a
Being
bore.
Yeah.
Being eaten by dragons.
Yikes.
I mean, if it's one way to go.
Yes, that's the card I want.
Mhm.
Eaten alive by a dragon.
Okay.
Logan, Gold Public's a big fan of your voices.
Oh, thank you.
You're doing well.
But yeah, so now that we've gotten that little retcon out of the way, sorry about missing you there, Nick. Yeah, we return to you asking what she would want in exchange, and she says, "Well, you are already, I hope, aware of the danger that soon encroaches upon our world, other than this Zernas creature that you have been dealing with. The Fang of Immolation was defeated once before, though not by me and my kind. Unfortunately, the means to do so were hidden very far and very deep within the Absent Range, in a place that it would be difficult for any dragon to ever reach, for, I should hope, obvious reasons. If we are to have a way of defeating this creature, then at the very least I should like you to go and retrieve whatever means it was that was used to seal away the Fang of Immolation. If you were to do that, I can promise you safe passage. I can promise you that you will all be rewarded with magical artifacts and money. If, after retrieving this item, you are continue to assist us in putting whatever this method is to use, then I will gladly provide to you the other things that you have requested. Make no mistake, I am very likely sending you to your deaths right now. I like you all enough that I will be honest about that. You're not dealing with the effects, the affairs of kings and mortals. You're dealing with the affairs of dragons. And you'll be treading into places that most dragons would not go. If the Fang of Immolation has gathered any of the dragons that I exiled from this place, it is very likely that he will have sent them, or at least used them in some way to try and hamper your progress. I would certainly expect to meet resistance from whatever defenses will be there, as well as resistance from the Fang of Immolation himself. Are these terms agreeable to you?
Yeah, I'd
Doesn't-
say so.
Okay.
Majesty.
I was going to say, O'Malley's just like, but don't look at me. You hired me to help you, so it's your choice.
Can't rely on Alex.
Okay. And with that, you hear a shifting behind you as the two black dragons that had guarded the entrance leave.
Do those dragons look like the one from How to Train Your Dragon?
Nice. Night Furies.
Why would they look like Toothless?
Yeah.
No, they are much bigger and much spikier.
And less friendly.
And
Yeah,
scarier.
less cute.
Oh, shame.
Less cat.
I like cute dragons.
Yeah,
More crocodile.
less
they
cat, more
were they,
crocodile, sure.
Were they disappointed that it went well? Were they just hoping to see like a bloodbath or something?
Potentially. In fact, make an insight check.
Sure.
Can
feel like
I
they were
also
there
make an
to work.
insight to see what they felt like their intentions with those two?
Oh, I only rolled 9. I probably won't get
Don't
anything
worry.
from there.
I
There
got
we
it.
go.
So,
The
what was your
newcomer knows
question
all.
exactly, Alex?
So it was just more their like those two dragons in particular, because they obviously sat in the entire conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What their entire attention was like. Why on earth were they? What on
Okay.
earth were they the reason behind why they were here for? Basically,
Okay.
what were they trying to get from this?
Is
didn't
it
know. I thought they were gonna be
because
recap people.
we're all visiting the
minutes.
Queen and like they want to make sure that we're not there to wreak havoc, and like since the Queen has talked to us all individually, like she knows that she can trust each of us. And
More or less, yes.
and therefore we
Those
got
two in particular were giving off very hostile vibes towards you guys.
Oh.
And you can see this, like, below where each of the heads were, their ground is, like, pockmarked and eroded away where acid had dripped from their mouths as they'd been looking down hungrily at you. However, it seems that when it became clear they weren't going to be allowed to eat you, they have left.
And stay out.
Well, they were just there for a snack.
And that is like O'Malley's like, what a friendly bunch then. Eh?
Sarah wants to make friends with him. I mean,
Hmm.
the unknown third
Make
lady.
fun of the goody two shoes who's trying to actually progress with the main story.
Don't mind if I do, sweetie.
Ugh. Everyone else seems to forget why we're here, but you know.
Nameless sweetie.
O'Malley hasn't forgotten why he's here.
The matron looks down at you and says, "I ask that you don't think too harshly of my children. It's very rare that any mortal comes in here and leaves alive. Their immediate response to seeing you might not be what you would hope, but they will do as they're told. Any who would not have already left this city."
At that point, I kind of said, "Are you 100% sure on that, though?"
Say Your Majesty.
Say no.
Just one moment. I need to pull up the stat block a second. Where's the monster manual? Alright, I don't have it on hand. Screw it. Make a wisdom save throw for me, Alex. We're going to say it's DC 19.
Indomitable. I'm going to reroll that.
I'll allow it.
21.
Okay.
I'm using Indomitable for that. Fuck
Mhm.
you.
For a moment, you feel honest to God terror as this aura of like menace exudes from this enormous dragon before you, and like for a moment you begin to tremble, and the echo shimmers and flickers for a second, and then you sort of take hold of your wits and look up and meet her gaze.
Oh, no.
And she says, "Do you doubt my judgment?"
No, of course not. It's just, they looked very hungry.
Insight check. Do you doubt her judgment?
Does
Oh,
he
press X to doubt.
Amalius is very stupid, so he is and not very trustworthy of a lot of things. So there is some worry in that some of these would, given any opportunity,
I mean,
would
look,
just 100% go for it. So
you
and then
don't
just
know
come
these
up with
people.
some
You don't
bullshit.
have any reason to trust them. That's fair.
Yeah, it's more like they could, if they wanted to, find us, like kill one of eat us, and then when it questioned, well, why? Oh, because they tried to steal the gold and everything. Yeah, I gotta, it's like they could easily get away with killing us because they're going to trust the words of the dragons before any of the party.
Okay.
So it's more of a like they could easily try and get away with killing us, like some of these dragons, if they really wanted to.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's
it's
fine.
more like she might have said like, "Don't do it." It doesn't mean they're not going to try. Some of the
I mean,
more
the
hostile ones.
consequences for the dragons are quite severe. They get kicked out.
Yeah, they might get kicked out, but
No, they will if they go
yeah,
against the
but
matron.
what if if they're able to convince her that we were trying to steal the gold? It's all they got to do. We were trying to steal their hoard. All they've got to say.
Well, she gets the sense that while you weren't telling the truth, your assumptions are not grounded in prejudice, and you have reasonable reasons for thinking the way that you do.
How significant? Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was going to say, how significant is the color of the dragons? Does it have much of an effect in E5? D&D?
In 5e.
5e.
Ordinarily, like in most campaign settings, it would be that chromatic dragons are evil and they worship Tiamat. Tiamat isn't a thing in this setting, and the dragons, as far as I'm concerned, they're intelligent creatures and they can make their own decisions. Red dragons and like other chromatic dragons are generally a lot more prideful and generally a lot like less trustful of like mortal beings like yourselves, but like they're intelligent enough that they can make their own decisions about alignment. There is no all red dragons are evil, but at the very least any that are particularly evil have been exiled from Dragon's Rest, as far as you have any reason to believe. Whether or not you trust that, none have slipped through the net or anything is up to you. And you've already been made aware that there is some dissent and that some people believe that just exiling these traitors is, not punishment enough. And so clearly not everyone is of one mind here. But people seem to do as they're told. They respect power.
Gold asked if what is this setting called? Is it just the name of the
yeah, this is my own homebrew setting, but it's called Horizon.
Horizon.
Spelled with an O instead of a H.
Horizon.
Yeah, instead of Horizon.
Did I spell it wrong on our poster?
No, you spelled it right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right.
I'm sure Matt asked me how to spell it for the poster.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's called Horizon. But yeah, there is a moment where she just sort of stares you down, and then she says, I understand that perhaps some of your dealings with my kind have been unpleasant. I can certainly say the same of yourself. You will not be harmed so long as you behave yourselves within my city. I give you my word of that. And then, after a moment, she looks at Francisca and says, now that negotiations have been concluded, I believe it's about time we discussed strategy. I mentioned that somewhere deep within the Absent Range, there is a Colossus ruin where some means of sealing away the Fang of Immolation lays hidden. And I wish for you to go and retrieve it. Francisca, if you could provide any more information to them, it would be much appreciated. And Francisca, who has kept a respectful silence, finally speaks up and first speaks to you guys telepathically and says, you guys did great, I'm really proud. Before sort of clearing her throat and being like, yes, the name of this old ruin, it's called Azza in Colossus. It hasn't been touched since the calamity because it's so deep within the range. But I believe at one point it was an outpost that looked out over the top of one of the mountains. It'd be difficult for any of us to go in there. It was designed very much to keep dragons at bay. The corridors are too small, and we would have to, revert back down to a much smaller form where we would be less powerful. The good thing is that if any other dragons intended on stopping you, this would also limit them. And I don't know whether they would have any idea about this or not. My worry is that this Zernas that you find yourselves an enemy of is in league with the Fang of Immolation. Someone freed him, and I worry that Zernas may be the one to blame. If that's the case, then who knows what information he's passed on. At the very least, I wouldn't go there expecting it to be easy. For starters, you'll be deep within the Absent Range, and as a result, your magic is going to be very unreliable.
I barely use it anyway.
Yeah,
No lie.
same here.
I can live without. Does that make sense? So should we unattune from our items before we go deeper into Absent Range? Like to prevent them from reacting to whatever's going on?
The matron will speak up and say, ordinarily, within the depths of the mountains, magic doesn't function at all. However, sending you all in, essentially unarmed, sounds like a suicide mission.
Suicide Squad.
I am prepared to provide you with a creation of our own. A potion that will, for a period of a few hours, give you some degree of resistance to the range's effects. You will still find that magic is unstable and that there is a chance of it backfiring. However, you will not be completely without magic. I will warn you that this is not merely limited to spells, but to any magical effect you may try and conjure, whether it be through equipment you possess, or...
I'm guessing my Istus bow.
It's going to count as a magic item.
I'm doomed.
So what does that mean for me? Does that mean every time I try and attack using magic, there's a chance that I'll attack myself?
There is a chance that your spell will always go off as you intended. However, there is also a chance that there will be a backfire. and it will also deal some damage to yourself.
As well
Are
as
there
an
any
extra
kind of,
wild
like,
magic surge?
No, that's we're going. Basically, I'm retconning the rules there because I found them really tedious and cumbersome, and
do it
we're
twice.
changing. The in-universe explanation is, oh hey, these potions are suppressing some of the effect.
Mm.
But
works.
yeah.
Plus,
What kind
like,
of
yeah, when
what kind of
Harkin was using his
uh,
spells, they did get lost.
is
Yeah.
there any kind of in-game effects to do with the echo in terms for Amalius or anything that needs to be? Because obviously a lot of it's innate things that
Yeah, I would say because I don't want to like completely screw you over and be like, you can't use any of your class features. I would say that like your Unleash Incarnation ability, that has a chance of backfire, which would just do some damage to yourself and not destroy the echo, because that'd be a bit unfair.
we call it.
But yeah, there's a chance that that will backfire. However, just like having the echo out, that's fine. I don't think I'm going to screw you over for the teleport because that's just something you can do for free. As well, I will say that cantrips are unaffected. It's only leveled spells. And yeah, any magic items you try to use, potions are fine, but magic items themselves, any magic items you try to use, are also going to have a chance of a backfire. And essentially, you're going to roll a d100, and if you roll a 30 or lower, you get a backfire, which is proportional to how powerful the effect was. So, say for example, Hyarkin wanted to cast Disintegrate. That's, I think, a 6th level spell, and he fails his D100 roll. He rolls like a 28 or something. Then he will still cast Disintegrate as normal, but he will take 6d6 of damage.
Oof.
And it's
Okay.
1d6 per spell level. So if Ott cast Chromatic Orb at first level and failed, he would take 1d6 of damage.
Right. So it's to do with the level of the spell, not the actual damage.
It's just more of
the
it's
spell
more
would
of
do.
the risk reward
Yeah.
on like do I
Using
want
a
to
higher
cast
level or not?
Yeah.
or do I use a higher level spell?
Okay, makes sense.
Magic items are capped at a flat 2d6. Just because I don't want to make individual rulings based on this magic item is a bit weaker than this one, and this one should do more damage and less damage, because I feel like that would make it complicated. So any magic item you try to use, you make your D100 roll. If you get below a 30, you take 2d6 of damage, but you still use the magic item.
What about spells that are more like effects rather than damage dealing ones? Would the effect still happen, or
Yes.
and then you'd just take a bit of damage if you roll low?
So the damage you take is dependent on the spell's level. So cantrips are level 0 spells, so you don't take any damage from them. You don't have to make any roll for them.
So say I was using Arcane Gate and I rolled lower than 30 on the D100.
You would still take damage for that, yeah.
But I would still be able to use Arcane Gate.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
the spell wouldn't fizzle.
Yeah. Right, that makes sense.
The only thing to be aware of is obviously concentration spells. If you take damage while you have a concentration spell up,
then
you
it
have
will.
to make a check to see if you lose concentration.
Right.
Which is a bit of a risk. But then again, once you've cast that concentration spell, you don't have to keep recasting it. You can just keep using it because you've already cast it.
Yep.
So you only have to make one check as opposed to making a check every turn. There's a risk reward to it.
Yeah.
Francisca says, well, it's lucky that you are all being provided this, and I think we should all take a moment to thank the matron for being so generous to us all, allowing us to use items from her. And she just sort of like shushes Francisca and says, I have no intention of sending you all to your deaths. You are of no use to me if you all perish. I will do what I can to make sure that you are able to be of assistance to me. In the meantime, that stone that has been spying on you, its effects shouldn't work while you're within the absent range anyway, so you shouldn't have to worry about prying eyes.
Okay.
For the adventure itself, I will be providing you the assistance of Francisca, who will take you to the ruins and will also go down with you. Again, her abilities will be limited. The place is far too narrow for her to take on her draconic form, but I believe that she is versed in some magical arts, and she may still be able to provide some help to you all. Yeah, she looks at you all sheepishly and says, I suppose if I get a backfire, I'm probably a little bit better off than the rest of you. I'm pretty tough.
No brag.
That being said, I don't
Humble
plan on
brag.
killing myself here, so please watch my back.
We'll look after you if you look after us. Yay. Best friends.
Just like the Medora thing again.
Oh,
Only, hopefully, with fewer worms this time. And
Noted.
yeah, she, the matron says, well, before you set off, you are welcome to rest here within Dragon's Rest for the evening, and set off in what passes for the morning. I believe Francisca still has a residence here within the city, where I'm sure she would be happy to put you all up. And Francisca isn't really given much of a chance to protest, even if she wanted to. But she just sort of, she nods her head and says, yeah, what's mine is yours. My horde isn't here anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
O'Malley looked a bit gleeful hearing that, and then when she said that, yeah, my horde's not here anyway, he goes, oh, okay, then whatever.
The rest of you, apart from O'Malley, have seen her horde.
Yeah, as far as O'Malley thinks, it's just money. So it's like, oh, she's about to give money away for free? Thanks. No, it's not here. Whatever then.
Yeah. You are allowed to exit, and the matron turns her back on you all and descends down the other side of the gold pile. And you are left alone in the chamber with Francisca, who sort of lets out this deep sigh of relief and says, honestly, that went a lot better than I was expecting. No offense, guys, but sometimes you do weird things.
I expected her to hate us. She didn't hate us, right?
Yeah, she just laughed at us.
I think you guys made a pretty good first impression.
Probably because we were intimidated, to be fair.
At this point,
Erlan takes the bottle of wine back out of his bag and says, so, I'm not seeing things right. Ott is weird, isn't he?
It's always
Look at me in
weird.
the eyes.
I turn to Erlan and say, no, you're definitely not seeing things, and grab the bottle out of his hand and take a big swig, hoping it will disappear.
It's like very dry wine. Like, it's not super tasty. But yeah.
How do you drink shit like this?
Erlan looks a little bit offended. But yeah, he you still look like yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I can't change as often as I like anymore.
Mm.
It's a once a day thing, I think. Actually, no. Wait, it was once a day before.
We'll have to look. What did we write down for it? Because yeah, this was part of your sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
F.
Oh, it's at random, so that's like I've changed now.
Oh, your clothes don't fit.
That is true. They are now very small on you. It's kind of like the Hulk.
They haven't ripped, have they?
Somebody give this guy some clothes, please. Harkin, give him your underwater cloak.
Wait, surely I've got.
You do have
He can,
other clothes, yeah.
I've got a disguise kit. Surely, no, yeah, I've got a disguise
Hey,
kit.
I have a set of
So-
common clothes if you want.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you went out at some point and
Alright.
bought different clothes to like fit your different forms. So like you should have clothes that would fit yourself. But yeah,
I have a zombie nipple if you want to use it as
you
a
have
kind
a
of
nipple that you
censorship.
ripped off a zombie.
Why did you keep that?
I just think it's fun.
Funny.
Funny.
To be fair, like if you just pulled that out, no one's gonna know it came from a zombie. They're just gonna be like, "Weird, this guy has a nipple."
It looks like a nipple. That's
Is it all
rotten.
like decayed? Yeah.
Very decayed.
Well, yeah, but
Is it like grey?
But
I don't
why?
know, are you like pickling it in vinegar or something?
Yeah, I'm keeping it preserved.
Okay. Horrible.
Disturbed.
Disturbed
Well,
child.
when I get back to my own universe, I'm going to proudly display it
Put it on his mantelpiece.
in my collection
in a jar of pickle.
on the mantelpiece.
I fought a zombie and this is all I got.
Yeah, that's the
All I
name of
got
my
was
light.
this stupid nipple.
Yeah.
That's the name of my light novel I'm going to write when I get back.
Yikes.
I fought a zombie and all I got was this stupid nipple.
So, Rob, for the sake of your transformations, we'll say that when you take a long rest, you can choose to transform, but what you transform into will be randomized. We'll take the randomization table from the resurrection spell. So it'll choose like at random what race you turn into.
Cool. Nice.
It could be another me.
You could be a tiefling.
Tiefling is on the
right.
table. Aarakocra isn't because that spell actually came out before Aarakocra was a race you could play as.
Oh.
I find this
At some point, we'll
Add it
just
into
say
the
that for
table.
this game we'll use the resurrection table, but yeah, at some point I'll make a custom table for it.
Cool.
custard
with
table.
yeah, a custard table.
Custard table.
Custard
Yeah,
table.
he can turn
Yummy.
into custard at random.
Mm.
Tubby custard.
But yeah, you would be led out of the tower by Francisca and back onto the streets, where actually kind of a lot of that very uncomfortable feeling of being watched has actually sort of left now. It seems like there was a lot of interest in you before you were had your meeting, and now you've had it and you're still alive. It's sort of like the news has spread that you're not to be touched. And yeah, you are kind of just in and amongst these ruined streets. And Francisca shifts back down to dwarven size and like kicks a piece of rubble and like stumps her toes like, I fucking hate this city. I'm sorry it's such a mess. I mean, my preferences are more bulwark, but
Yeah, I was going to ask,
This-
what sort of city could dragons live in? Because this was once filled with human-sized people and now has big dragon people in.
well, it was
Smashy
Colossi
dinosaurs.
were half giants, so they were bigger than humans. They were like 10, 15 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's still way too small for dragons, which is why this place is a ruin.
Like, maybe they could fit their
Yeah.
head through the door, but that'd
Yeah,
be
like-
kind of it.
I thought it was weird that it was like unrefined. Everything sounded rough.
Hmm.
And
Basically, dragons don't really have as much appreciation for making like fancy mansions and things. A lot of them make their lairs up in mountains or in caves. They're not super bothered about like how pretty their decorations are. They just like to gather things that they find pleasing, like whether it be art or stories or golden gemstones or slaves.
So Francesca's kind of like a Zoomer in a way. She actually likes clean and tidy ish.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, part of the reason why she doesn't live in Dragon's Rest is that she's kind of weird by dragon standards, at least by Dragon's Rest dragon standards, in that, she has kind of this fixation on, like, mortal civilizations. It's why she has been sort of like a guardian to Bulwark for so long, is she wanted to nurture it and help it grow. But I mean, like, she still lives in a cave. Technically, she lives in a giant ship that's in a cave, but like, it's not like she's built some magnificent mansion for herself either. And like, yeah, this place is ruined because like, in order to make it actually livable for a lot of dragons, they've kind of just had to like bust giant holes in the walls and like tear out walls and windows, and like they take out a load-bearing wall and something collapses and they're like, oh well, can't live in this one.
Not my problem.
Yeah. Like, also, they just don't have any respect for this place. It was once home to people who hunted them. So, like, they're not, like, bothered about trying to preserve any of its old majesty. It's more, this suits their purpose, and leaving it kind of desecrated kind of leaves a message that they're quite fond of.
Mm.
I think Francisco would be happy to explain any of that to you, so you can treat that as in-character knowledge if you'd like.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
I assumed I was asking that to Francesca.
Yeah. But yeah, this place is not like a city of splendor by any means, but there is a lot of very valuable things here. But that's mostly in hordes. It's it's not like a beautiful place. It's just a place where a lot of valuable things are gathered because a lot of big greedy lizards live here.
Like in Downing Street.
Oof.
Exactly. But yeah, she leads you through like ruined streets, and she has to like pick through rubble. And honestly, it's probably something like going through like The Last of Us, where like you're like having to like find paths through like collapsed buildings and stuff because like roads are blocked. And I imagine Risu doesn't have any problem navigating because like you can fly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
for
do
the
on the
rest
other
of you, it's like everything takes a little bit longer than it should really to like make any progress through the city. Unfortunately, you don't really have to travel that far, as Francisca leads you to the bottom half of what was once a tower, and once a fairly small tower at that, where she says, honestly, I wish I could say I had like beds or actual rooms for you, but I can at least provide you some shelter from the elements.
Wait, Matt's tiny hut thing. Can we sleep in that?
That's basically just a dome of force.
Oh, okay.
Linus
So
tiny hut. It's not actually a hut. There is a spell which Matt can potentially learn later, called Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion, which literally does summon like an extra planar mansion that he can like decorate however it wants, and it has invisible servants that will attend to you all.
Oh,
which
wow.
is
I need to learn
amazing,
that.
right?
That's crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
Gotta be on his box.
But yeah, that's not something that I believe he has access to yet. I think Hyarkin can get it as well.
What level?
I'm just checking. I think it's 8th, but
Oh.
Mordekainen. No, 7th level. Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion. It can be learned by Bard and Wizard, so no, you can't get it. But Bards can, so Matt can. Yeah, basically you like summon a doorway, and like stepping through the doorway like brings you into this mansion, and it kind of it meets whatever description the caster wants to give it. It's really cool.
I'll definitely choose that one when I'm able to.
Resurrection. There we go.
Wait, you can't no.
Yeah, it's only
What?
bards.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're not a wizard.
I just realised I was on mute.
What he's saying, Rob?
I was just saying, yeah, when
Lame.
Hyarkin gets that, he's gonna call you Magic Man. He's gonna be like, Magic Man, make me a font.
I like your funny mansion, Magic Man.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
I mean, like there are other spells that can be used to like create like shelter and things. There's one which I think is 3rd level, which can like make a wizard tower, which is pretty cool.
Wizard.
Which like it may be a case of even if you can't learn the spell, asking Gareth to make a way for you to be able to cast it. But that may be a thing to look into after you deal with the Dragon Civil War.
Yeah, priorities.
So, I'm trying to look for what the spell's called. So just give me a second. Crusader's Mantle. That's Death. Golder's Tower, it's called. Yeah, again, it's wizard spell list. But, like, it may be a case that, like, you can still get that spell. It's just not one that you would normally learn by leveling up. It would have to be something that you would get through.
Do I have to convince a wizard?
Convince a wizard, convince someone who's able to make magic items for you to make, like, you know, a usable version of it for you. Like, store it in a scroll or a wand for you. Stuff like that.
Okay, so I can use wizard spells, I just have to find out a way of actually getting them.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
Like, I'm not going to lock off cool stuff from you. I want you to be able to, you know, play with fun, weird things.
Is it the other way around for wizards to learn sorcerer's spells, or?
I mean, like, for starters,
they
most
not have
sorcerer
separate
spells
ones?
are also wizard spells. Like,
Yeah.
the thing with wizards is they don't get stuff like meta magic, but they have, like, the most, like, the widest spell list.
More options. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
But also, like, they can just learn spells from scrolls. They don't need to wait to level up to learn new spells.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are led to this sort of like ruined, kind of nondescript tower. It's very small and like not isolated, but like very like unimportant looking. And like the top of the tower has like clearly been like knocked off as something has just slammed into it, like flying accidentally.
Oopsie daisy.
And you know, it seems like people haven't really taken care of or bothered with this tower previously. And yeah, it's basically like several one-room floors stacked on one top of one another, with like a ladder connecting them. And yeah, Francisca will actually, there is a wooden door which is people size. And yeah, she steps up to it and opens the door for you and gestures into an empty stone room in a circle and says, "There's 3 more identical rooms up that ladder." And I'm afraid that's actually all I have in this city.
Well, at least it's a roof over our head.
It is. I mean, it's going to be a little bit drafty, but you guys have like camped out before. And yeah, Erlan says that like if it's gonna make people more comfortable, he can cast his Leopold's tiny hut in order to give you guys some extra protection.
That would be very kind. Thank you, Matt, for suggesting that.
Thanks, Matt.
Did I say Matt or Erlan?
You said Matt.
Okay. You know I meant Erlan.
Yeah. O'Malley's like starts like fumbling around to try and find some like thing to make a bonfire. He's like he's not very good at it. He's like he does the best he can when he's on his own at the most times.
This is just like a drippy cave, right?
This is just the ruins of a tower. In fact, it's not even really ruins. The top of it was knocked off, but like the rooms are actually like clean and free of rubble. But yeah, it's just a big empty circular room with like hard stone floors. There's no furniture, no nothing. But I mean, there's plenty of rubble around. Like if you wanted to try and gather some wood, I would say that like that's not impossible. Like if you want to gather firewood, and then like You're a bunch of 12th level characters. If you can't somehow make a fire, I would be disappointed in all of you.
I have
Fireball.
candles, a tinderbox, plenty of things that you can
Sure.
make fire with.
Yeah, it's fireball.
Lantern.
I cast fireball. I destroy the whole room.
Destroy the
And
entire
the,
tower.
and the party in alongside it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm so close to absent range, I cast it on myself instead.
Oh yeah, it backfires.
Technically, yes, it would backfire.
Well, you're not cold anymore.
And I'd
Yeah.
get a wild magic surge.
You also
could
don't
also
have any
kill
hair
us,
anymore, Sarah.
Oh.
Like, you haven't drank. She never had hair. She had feathers. But yeah, you haven't drank your
No.
potions yet. So, like, any spell you try and cast will just like backfire immediately right now. But,
Would it be worth exploring the draconic town for fuzzy material just to make bed?
Yeah. If you would like to make a survival
Um,
check, I will allow you to try and scavenge some sort of more comfortable material to make beddings.
I'll try that.
Are there any actual dragons walking around this town or flying around it, or is it kind of just abandoned?
There are definitely dragons flying around. The problem is, of course, it being pitch black because you're below the clouds.
But there's nothing on like street level where we are.
There's no
That
like
no one
giant
can tell.
dragons just like walking around. At least not that you've run into. This is, a very big city, and it seems like a lot of dragons have made their nests somewhat higher up. And like if they need to, they can fly almost indefinitely. So
they've basically just destroyed this city to get stuff to build their nests higher up in the
yes,
clouds.
yeah,
What's
more
the
or less.
population of Dragon's Rest?
No, I'll tell you. It's fine. I don't know if this would really be like in character knowledge, but it's a couple of hundred dragons of varying ages. Like a lot of them are wormlings. So, in terms of like ancient dragons, there's probably about 50, and that's dragons that are older than Francisca. And there's probably like 100 or so adults.
Is the queen the oldest?
Oh yeah, by far.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Like our queen, yeah.
He is the oldest of us.
Literally
That
the
is
oldest
why she is the
person.
queen.
Okay.
That is.
That's how you become queen.
Yeah.
She's like,
One day I'll be king. I just need to outlive them all.
I didn't realise we use seniority in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute. How long's the
You
queen
gotta
been queen
respect
for?
your elders.
She wasn't always an elder.
No, she only became queen when she was the oldest, Nick.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So with an 18 on your survival check, it probably takes you like half an hour, like scavenging around, and yeah, you are able to find like probably like fabrics or tapestries and things that like have been used to like taken away from villages that like have been robbed and then brought back to the city, because obviously anything that was like originally in this city is probably like very moth-eaten and rotten.
Yeah.
But not thinking too closely about the origins of this. Obviously, you're not able to find like an intact bed, but you are able to find like material enough that you could potentially make bedding for yourselves if you'd like.
Excellent. One restful sleep after, and then onwards to stressful times.
Mm-hmm. Well then, in that case, Rob, would you like to transform in your sleep?
Yeah, funny.
Okay. I'm sure the spell is resurrection. One moment. Someone dead spell initializing.
Odd doesn't like people seeing his real complexion.
His naked
Body.
naked complexion.
It's not resurrection. I need to try and find out what the spell was called then. Just give me a second to look through filters.
He wanted to buy makeup really, but there's no shops.
There is no shops here.
No fake
You could-
tan.
All been stomped
No
on by
fake.
dragons.
Yeah, where's the tanning salon?
Mhm.
No, it would only burn me.
Fireball.
My skin's so pale.
Yeah, it would be a dragon like breathing fire just above you.
Here's the thing. There is definitely some weird dragon in this city who is like super obsessed with like beautiful things and is like probably an expert on makeup. And
So he's-
would like love to like give you guys a makeover and then try and keep you as part of its horde.
Can we ask
Oh,
Francisco
no.
to
Like
introduce
treat
us?
you as dolls, essentially.
No.
Ott's true form is just a doll in a
Yeah.
dragon's storage.
Flashback to
Braided hair, blushed face.
Outlast 2.
Yeah,
No,
Outlast.
Outlast Whistleblower with the bride making man.
Yikes.
That's
Is that a
flashback.
thing?
Wait, what? You don't know?
No, I never played Whistleblower.
Oof.
The makeup dragon.
The makeup
Yeah.
dragon, yeah.
Yeah, what makeup dragon?
Yeah. There's a dude who's just a dragon, right? In Whistleblower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one ever questions it. He's just there.
Is this spell, guys? There's so many here. I'm just gonna grab the player's handbook 2 seconds. I wish I'd come more prepared for this.
Not today.
Not today, Zerg. Blank.
No buzz. I am no buzz. No.
There's a player's handbook. I got too many books. Rob, why did you let me buy all of these?
Sorry,
didn't
I
you
have to stop
Google
buying them
it?
for you.
Yeah, I tried and it didn't work.
Oh.
I tried, Mom. Me.
Google better.
Okay. I was looking for what the goddamn spell is called, because it should be in the app, but I can't find it. I think it's a druid spell as well.
Does anyone in chat know?
Yeah, I think Gold Public's still here.
Oh, I meant would they might know.
Oh, what's it you're looking for? Sorry, I was typing something up.
There's a resurrection spell that like causes you to come back as a random race. Reincarnate. There it is.
What were you guessing originally? Because it sounded the same.
Resurrection.
Oh.
Reincarnate. Me.
Oh, becomes the dragon.
It's not a cleric spell, it's a druid spell. Reincarnate. It's a 5th level transmutation spell. Here we go. Okay, Robert, roll a d100 for me.
Yeah, I love the year 100. Can I roll it as 100 two-sided dice?
What?
What?
No, it's 2d10s, you idiot.
Damn it. Okay. Here you
No,
go.
it's 50 D2s.
Okay, well, you rolled a 22.
There's-
You could flip 50 coins.
Okay. Hey, Rob, this is interesting.
Mm.
You are still grey-skinned. You are a dark elf, a drow. And I believe the first of any that any of you guys have seen. Long white hair and grey skin and pale eyes. You look a little bit like your true form, but with much more distinct features. Long elven ears.
Is he attractive?
Probably,
Why
yeah.
are you interested in that, huh?
No,
I
let's
don't
face
know.
it.
I heard elf, so
A
it sounds
Drow.
like edgy.
Drow are pretty hot, to be fair.
Oh.
Hang on. See if I can find a picture of Drizzt.
Ott is all these years. Ott's been trying to look more beautiful, and now he's a drow elf. He's reached his pinnacle.
Okay, let's get you a picture of Drizzt Droirden.
In Memes?
Yeah, hang on.
Or D&D chat?
Copy
D&D
image.
chat would make sense.
It would make more sense to put it in D&D chat, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
put it in links for Among Us.
Fine, I will.
No, I'm banned. Oh no, it's right.
You're banned.
You're banned from Among Us?
No.
Banned.
There we go. That's a picture of like the most famous drow.
Oh wow. Okay. Copy link. Let me try and get this
Yes,
for a second.
his
Okay.
Oh,
name is Drizzt.
very
Oh
handsome.
my goodness.
Mhm.
Very handsome. He's going to have sparkles coming off him. Imaginary sparkles.
Do I dazzle you?
Oh my god, he's so beautiful. Look at the jawline.
That is a very defined jawline.
But
Very
look,
chiseled
all I'm
chin,
saying,
too.
anyone who plays a drow is probably horny for drows. So
Sigma
there's a
elf.
lot of hot drows out there. But also, I think they give you a bonus to charisma being a drow, so makes sense.
Does that affect Odd's character then? Like,
Nah, this is purely cosmetic.
just cosmetic?
He
Okay.
doesn't get stronger if he turns into a half orc.
I'm
He
impressed-
always has his same stats.
I'm impressed by his abs. Like his abs are so strong, they poke through his armor.
They're going through his suit.
I'm more concerned of the placement of his studs on his nipples.
It's the equivalent of
Or
boob
leaps.
plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boob plate.
Yeah, so I guess now as far as I'm concerned, that's what Art currently looks like.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sarah, you need to redraw him now.
Art
Oh,
is
no.
like incredibly hot right now.
I mean,
He's
I've
loving
got
this.
pretty good charisma, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handsome Squidward.
Handsome Squidward.
Art has become handsome Squidward.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. You guys got through all of that like quite a lot faster than I thought you actually would.
Surprise, right?
Yeah.
We can turn the rest of this
normally
into shop. We can fill the rest with shopping.
Shopping episode.
All right, yeah, sure. You go to the dragon
Shopping.
shop and you start shopping for an hour. Let's do that.
Shopping in the ruins.
Art buys
Yeah.
ancient dragon chest plate sized chest plate, and he can't carry it. It's just too big for him.
But no,
Non-RP.
out of our okay. It's you've scavenged clothes to make you look like Drizzt. This hero from your world who you had heard of. But yeah, I think
So sorry. Does Art can he only transform into things he's seen then? Is that
I
right?
think now because it's randomized, I think like we'll just let it be whatever.
Holy
but I
shit, I'm
think-
handsome.
What am I?
What am
Let's
But
just
I
say
think,
they're
like,
things he
the
saw in his
actual, like,
dreams.
Yeah, previous rules, I think it was like you had to be like something that you'd seen.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I think now that it's sort of like randomized, it's now going to be a case of like you can turn into a drow even though you haven't met any yet.
Otherwise, you
Because
turn
they
into
live
pet
on the
lady.
other side of the absent range.
Hmm.
But you know, you might have seen some in your world anyway.
So everyone gets to see new art in the
Mhm.
morning.
Yeah.
And Sarah's gonna have to draw a new character for Art every time.
That's
he
right.
sleeps.
Every single time he sleeps and decides to transform, he's something completely different.
Well, absolutely
Yeah.
every time he sleeps now.
I will make a table with some of the extra races added in, including races that are in Horizon. So it will include like Tabaxi, and it will include Aarakocra, and probably
Me.
some other races that I find funny. Smiley face. But yeah, I think it's probably best to leave it there because I don't actually have much in detail prepared ahead of this. You actually kind of got through more than I expected you to there.
It's probably because you've been drinking all weekend.
I have been drinking all weekend.
Yeah, how are you
Like,
even
I
still
would rather-
functioning?
I feel amazing, actually.
You've done really well, to be honest.
I've had
I wasn't sure how you
no
do after yesterday.
hangover whatsoever. Just like achy feet and legs.
Like I
Oh.
told you, just keep drinking.
No,
Yeah.
it's
You'll
not
fix it.
healthy. I mean,
My voice was like absolutely shot this morning, though. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh
could
yeah,
barely
mine was
talk.
as well. I thought I sounded like Markiplier. I was enjoying it. I was like,
Yeah, you had the
hello,
reverb on.
everybody.
Hey guys,
Morning, Pappy.
Hello, Pappy.
I'm gonna smash Waylord.
Yeah, Castle Smash.
Nick hasn't seen that yet.
I still haven't. I don't know if I want to.
I already watched it. It was
Anyway.
funny.
It was funny.
Yeah, good game, everyone. I was interested to find out what you guys would all ask for in character.
Yeah, it was all very different for everyone.
Honestly, I was not expecting to go with the deck of many things.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Oh man, don't. Are you still streaming?
I can stop if you want me to.
Just wondering.
I am.
So I think
Was he about to dox one of us?
Uh-oh. I wanted
Oh, no.
dragon buddies.
Hey,
Oh, no.
tell that guy thanks for watching. You had
Yeah,
someone in the
I
chat
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Really good input. And love,
Yeah.
well, not just Logan's, but I'm sure Alex's Irish voice as well.
Yeah.
I just had to look at the
Malik.
chat. He said the DM was really good. So well done, Logan.
Oh, thank you.
And that's
Nice,
now
yeah.
imprinted in history. 'cause I kept it.
Mm-hmm.
did he follow you at all?
Yeah.